There's a brick of dried noodles in a plastic wrapper sitting in dorm rooms, pantry cabinets, and military footlockers across America right now. And the people eating it twice a week have absolutely no idea what's actually happening inside that styrofoam cup when they pour hot water over it. The flavor packet dissolves, the noodles rehydrate. The broth turns a color that doesn't exist in nature, and in the next 15 minutes, a cascade of sodium, synthetic preservatives, and industrial seed oil byproducts enters your bloodstream at concentrations that would trigger a warning label if they appeared in any other form. 8 specific instant ramen brands have been linked in recent years to health advisories issued by food safety authorities across 4 continents, and the reason you haven't heard about most of them is that the warnings were issued quietly in languages other than English in markets where regulators act faster than ours does. Tonight, I'm going to walk you through every one of those 8 brands, what investigators found, and why the convenience of a 90-second meal may be costing your family more than any of us realized. The Food and Drug Administration requires that instant noodle manufacturers disclose sodium content, but the agency's current daily value threshold of 2,300 milligrams is already under review because the American Heart Association has advised a far lower ceiling for cardiovascular health, particularly for adults over 40. A single serving of many instant ramen products delivers between 1,400 and 1,900 milligrams of sodium, which means one packet can consume nearly an entire day's recommended intake in a single meal. The World Health Organization has classified certain azo dyes commonly used in instant noodle seasoning packets as substances requiring ongoing monitoring, and the European Food Safety Authority has imposed stricter limits than the United States on the amount of tert-butylhydroquine, known as TBHQ, permitted in shelf-stable foods. A 2020 study in the Journal of Nutrition found that women consuming instant noodles 2 or more times per week showed elevated markers of metabolic syndrome compared to matched controls. And a separate 2014 analysis in the same journal suggested that regular instant ramen consumption may contribute to cardiometabolic risk factors independent of overall dietary quality. These studies don't prove causation, but research indicates a consistent pattern across populations, and that pattern is exactly what regulators in Taiwan, Malaysia, India, and the Philippines have used as justification for the advisories they've issued against the 8 brands I'm about to name. The first brand on the list is the Korean origin spicy cup line that developed a cult following in North American markets after viral social media challenges made its capsaicin content a point of bravado. What the challenge videos never showed is the batch testing that Philippine food safety investigators conducted in 2017, when samples of certain production runs were flagged for elevated levels of ethylene oxide in the powdered flavor base. Ethylene oxide is a fumigant used in the sterilization of spice imports, and its byproduct, 2-chloroethanol, has been classified by the European Union as a substance of toxicological concern. The manufacturer quietly reformulated its supply chain, but bulk imports purchased before the reformulation are still circulating in discount retailers, and consumers have no way to tell from the label which production batch they're purchasing. The second brand is the beef-flavored styrofoam cup variety that has been an American pantry staple since the 1970s. The sodium content alone would justify a warning, but investigators at several consumer protection organizations have also flagged concerns about the polystyrene cup itself. When hot water at temperatures approaching boiling is poured into polystyrene, trace amounts of styrene monomer can migrate into the liquid. The International Agency for Research on Cancer reclassified styrene in 2019 as a substance with possible human carcinogenic potential, and while the migration levels per serving are small, the cumulative exposure over years of college students and office workers eating this product as a daily meal is the kind of chronic low-dose question that regulators are only now beginning to take seriously. A paper cup or ceramic bowl transfer eliminates this concern entirely, but the manufacturer has resisted changing the packaging because the styrofoam format is core to the brand identity. The third brand is the Japanese-origin gourmet instant line that positions itself as a premium alternative to budget ramen. The marketing pitches authenticity, regional broth tradition, and a noodle texture superior to mass-market competitors. What the marketing leaves out is that the product still depends on TBHQ as a preservative to maintain the oil content of the noodles over its 18-month shelf life. And the seasoning packets contain disodium nasonet and disodium guanylate at concentrations that amplify the glutamate response in ways some consumers may be sensitive to. For premium pricing, consumers deserve premium formulation, and the premium label on this product does not match the preservative chemistry inside it. The fourth brand is the Indonesian-produced chicken-flavored instant line, which was at the center of a 2015 advisory in Taiwan when investigators found that certain production batches contained traces of benzoapirin, a polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon that can form during high-heat oil frying of the noodle blocks. The advisory led to a temporary import ban in Taiwan and triggered reformulation of the frying process at the source facility. But again, the timeline matters. Stockpiled inventory continued to circulate in markets that didn't receive the advisory, including through ethnic grocery distribution channels in North America, and the traceability back to consumers was essentially zero. The fifth brand is the shrimp-flavored Thai instant line that has become popular in college towns as an exotic upgrade from standard chicken or beef flavors. The concern with this product isn't the noodle. It's the shrimp-derived flavoring powder, which has in multiple testing cycles shown measurable levels of undeclared shellfish allergens cross-contaminating flavor variants that were labeled shellfish-free. For consumers with shellfish allergies, this is a life-threatening issue, and the manufacturer's supply chain has been the subject of repeated regulatory inquiries without meaningful long-term remediation. The sixth brand is the American-made budget cup line sold in bulk packs at major warehouse retailers. The sodium content approaches 2,000 milligrams per serving. The seasoning packet contains multiple artificial colors that European regulators have restricted, and the noodle block itself is fried in palm oil of contested supply chain integrity. The USDA has raised questions about the transparency of palm oil sourcing in instant noodle products, and studies suggest that the repeated high-temperature frying used in mass production can generate compounds that may contribute to oxidative stress when consumed regularly over years. The seventh brand is the spicy Chinese hot pot-style instant noodle line that exploded in popularity during the pandemic. Investigators in multiple markets have flagged the dehydrated vegetable inclusion packets as a vector for pesticide residue because the leafy components are sourced from agricultural regions where the regulatory oversight on pesticide application is less rigorous than North American standards. Independent testing has found trace residues of organophosphate compounds at levels that, while below acute toxicity thresholds, accumulate when the product is consumed multiple times per week. The eighth and final brand on the list is the mass market shrimp and vegetable cup line that dominates convenience store coolers across the country. The specific concern here is the interaction between the acidic tomato-based broth variant and the epoxy-lined paper cup construction. Research suggests that acidic broths at high temperature can accelerate the release of bisphenol compounds from the lining material, and a 2021 study in the journal Food Additives and Contaminants documented measurable BPA migration from certain disposable food containers used with hot acidic contents. The brand has not publicly addressed the lining chemistry question, and consumer inquiries have been routinely deflected. The sum of these 8 warnings is not that instant ramen should be erased from your kitchen. It's that the convenience of the format has obscured the trade-offs, and that the regulatory signal from international authorities has been quietly filtering in for years without American consumers hearing the message. The sodium alone over a lifetime of weekly consumption represents a cardiovascular burden that studies suggest may contribute to hypertension trajectories already shaped by other dietary patterns. The preservatives, the dyes, the packaging chemistry, the supply chain gaps, and the potential contaminants compound that burden in ways that are difficult to measure individually but undeniable in aggregate. If your family eats instant ramen more than twice a week, this is information you need. Here is what a protective investigator would tell you to do. First, reduce frequency. No matter what brand you buy, capping instant ramen consumption at once a week or less dramatically reduces cumulative exposure to every concern on this list. Second, transfer the noodles out of the styrofoam or paper cup and into a ceramic or glass bowl before adding hot water. This one change eliminates packaging migration concerns almost entirely, and it takes 30 seconds. Third, use only half the flavor packet. You will still get plenty of taste, and you will cut the sodium load nearly in half, which is the single most impactful change you can make. Fourth, add fresh vegetables, an egg, some scallion or leftover protein from the night before. This dilutes the processed footprint of the meal and adds actual nutrition. Fifth, rinse the noodles once after the initial cook to remove the palm oil coating that can carry the highest concentration of preservative residue. This is a classic technique used by professional cooks working with Asian-style instant noodles, and it improves the texture as a side benefit. Sixth, prioritize brands that disclose supply chain information and lining chemistry explicitly, which as of this year represents a small but growing segment of the market. Seventh, when traveling or in a pinch, buy the plain block version rather than the cup version because it eliminates the hot water to container contact question and typically costs less per serving. Follow these steps and you convert instant ramen from a health liability into an occasional convenience meal with manageable trade-offs. The story of these 8 brands isn't a story about instant ramen being inherently evil. It's a story about a product category that has expanded faster than the regulatory frameworks around it, about supply chains that stretch across continents without consistent oversight, and about consumers who have trusted the convenience without asking what they were trading for it. You are not being asked to give up a meal you enjoy. You are being asked to see it clearly, to make small changes that meaningfully reduce risk, and to pass that knowledge to the college student in your life, the office coworker, the teenager stalking a first apartment, the grandparent who thinks instant ramen is a harmless snack. Information shared is protection multiplied. Now you have it, use it.